When you see someone after years apart, people may look dramatically different, more radiant, alive, or unfortunately, more depleted. We often attribute a lot of these changes to diet, to exercise, or stress, but there may be more fundamental factors at play. More specifically, the way in which we breathe. The idea isn't particularly new. The ancient Vedic text described a second body, the pranayama kosha, or vital sheath that shapes our physical form through breath and life force, or prana. While this might sound esoteric, modern science is beginning to understand through similar concepts via the lens of the nervous system, cellular oxygenation, and also metabolic health. Now, while this second body concept seems far-fetched, until we actually examine the physical systems it describes, the ancient texts speak of nadis, or subtle energy channels to which life force flows. While this sounds mystical, these channels bear a striking resemblance to our modern understandings of the nervous system. The main energy channels described in Vedic texts, either in Pingala, mirror the function of our parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems, which control everything from our stress response to even tension that we may or may not have in the facial muscles. But how exactly does breath influence our appearance? The mechanism is both subtle and profound. Every breath we take triggers a cascade of physiological responses. The first one, as we have alluded to, is nervous system activation. Proper breathing activates the parasympathetic rest and digest, reducing tension in the muscles around the face and promoting healthy tissue repair. The next is cellular oxygenation, meaning enhanced oxygen delivery to cells that support collagen production and skin health. We also need to speak about, on the third point, lymphatic flow. Deep breathing actually acts as a pump for your lymphatic system, helping remove those toxins and reduce facial puffiness. Hormone balance, equally, breathing patterns directly influence stress hormone levels, which affect everything from skin quality to, again, facial muscle tone. Given these profound effects on our breathing, on our appearance and health, the next question becomes, how can we harness this power? How can we influence it? Now, the answer lies in understanding the breath's unique position in our physiology. It's interesting to me that breathing stands alone as the only vital function that operates both automatically and under conscious control. This dual nature makes it extraordinary in our gateway to influencing automatic bodily functions. When you consciously breathe or control your breath, you're not just moving air, you're accessing a control panel for your automatic nervous system, or autonomic nervous system, I should say. The Hindus referring to this as prana. Now, modern research confirms what these ancient practitioners knew thousands of years ago. Conscious breathing, we see influences involuntary functions like heart rate variability, body temperature, immune response, stress response, facial muscle tension, and blood flow to the skin and the facial tissues. This isn't just a theory, it's actually demonstrated in laboratories and clinics across the world. So listen to this interesting story. In March 1970, there was an Indian yogi named Swami Rama, and he visited the Menninger Foundation in Topeka, Kansas, where researchers conducted exploratory work in the fields of one of mankind's most fondest dreams, the control of the body via the mind. In a series of experiments, researchers wired Swami Rama for brainwaves, respiration, skin potential, skin resistance, heart behavior, blood flow to the hands, and also temperature. While they wired him up, he caused two areas within a couple inches apart on his right hand to change temperatures in opposite direction. The rate of temperature change was about 4 degrees Fahrenheit per minute, and he was able to maintain the change until there was a temperature difference of around 10 degrees. I mean, this guy demonstrated that he could stop his heart from pumping around his body. It was assumed by the researchers, Alice Green, Thelma Green, and Dale Waters, that his heart would actually stop beating. But what happened instead is that his heart was moving so fast it was firing about 300 beats a minute without blood either filling the chambers properly or the valves working properly. Now you can call this cap, but again, this is all recorded and it seems extraordinary. They are not isolated cases, however. Throughout history, advanced practitioners have shown remarkable control over their physiology. The Sanskrit translation called these siddhis, or perfections, and while some claims stretch credibility, such as the aforementioned ones, others have been validated by modern science. I mean, you can take the obvious example over the last 10 decades, Wim Hof, the Iceman, who replicated many of these seemingly ancient feats under laboratory conditions. Through specific breathing techniques, he demonstrated the ability to maintain core body temperatures in freezing conditions, influence his immune system in a 2019 study, reduce inflammation markers in the blood, and overall control his nervous system. What's particularly significant is that Hof had also taught these techniques to others, proving that these aren't unique to him. They're not genetic gifts, but learnable skills. His students have achieved similar results, suggesting that conscious breathing can unlock latent human potential and evolution. It is the flow then of breath which is a constant influence on the shape of the second body, inspiring a pattern of energy that underlines and sustains the 3D body. With every single breath we take, energy flows through the body like waves that crash on the beach, a constant shaping, sculpting, and restructuring the pattern of energy that comprises the pranic body. Therefore, the quality of this pranic body influences the quality and the tissues of our body. If we then change the energy, then we change the 3D. People change constantly. You might have even noticed personalities coming back into your life after various hiatuses, and they visually present different. There's a glow, there's a radiance, there's a aura, or there's the antithesis of these particular things. Okay, so let's talk about 3 practical things that can happen. The first, as this video, the premise of this video is facial muscle tone. When we breathe properly, the muscles in our face naturally relax and they find their optimum tension. When you breathe properly, the muscles in the face relax and they find their optimal tension. Many of us kind of clench our jaw or furrow the brow, especially during shallow, stressed breathing. Proper breathing actually breaks these patterns, allowing the facial muscles to return to their natural and more attractive position. The next is tissue oxygenation. Every cell in your face needs oxygen to function optimally. Better breathing increases oxygen delivery to facial tissues, promoting collagen production, skin regeneration, healthy blood flow, natural skin color, and tone. And then we talk about that stress response. When we get into that relaxation response, the consequences reduce cortisol, and this is our stress response, which can break down collagen. It also promotes growth hormone, which is particularly important for bone and skin repair. It improves sleep quality, which is essential for cellular regeneration, and drains that puffy and toxic lymphatic tissue. This is why people who, when they master breathing practices, often develop that glow or radiance. It's not mystical, it's optimal physiology. The flip side of this beauty breathing connection becomes apparent when we examine what happens during chronic stress or trauma. The impact follows a very clear cascade. The first is that trauma response. When we experience a shock, injury, or emotional trauma, our breathing pattern immediately shifts. Breathing becomes shallow and rapid, and the diaphragm tightens, and the upper chest area, it starts to become habitual, this pattern. The body stays in that chronic fight and flight mode. The physical changes as a consequence of this might mean that over time, these altered breathing patterns reform and reshape our physical marketing to the world. That's another way you can kind of think about it. Shoulders becoming more rounded to protect the vital organs. Neck and jaw muscles nice and tight. I say nice and tight, that's that mouth breathing presentation. Facial tissues receiving less oxygen, less nutrients. Lymphatic draining becomes impaired. Stress hormones going through the roof. As the ancient text details, physical tissue crystallizes around the quality of energy that underlines it. Modern science confirms this wisdom. Our bodies literally reshape themselves around our breathing patterns for better or for worse. The good news is that we have a process that works both ways by consciously changing our breathing patterns. While the ancient understanding of prana might seem esoteric, modern science offers fascinating parallels. I mean, consider the following scientific observations. There's the phantom leaf effect. So in Kirlian photography experiments, when somebody cuts and photographs a leaf using high voltage electrical fields, the energy field of the entire leaf remains visible, even the missing portion. This suggests an underlying energy template that precedes physical form. This is the second body, or the pranic body. The second is regeneration patterns. Some animals, like salamanders, can regenerate entire limbs. Scientists have discovered that bioelectrical fields guide this regeneration, creating a template or a reference for new growth. Another parallel to the ancient concept of an energetic blueprint. The underlying has practical implications for facial development and aesthetics equally. You can talk about oral posture techniques, mewing, mouth taping, and facial exercises. And while these techniques are often discussed purely mechanically, their primary benefit, in my personal opinion, comes from optimizing oxygen flow and nervous system function. Fundamentally, what is the outcome of these practices? Mewing, mouth taping, and facial muscles is to allow more oxygen into the body. I mean, consider this. We can survive more than 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, but only 3 minutes without oxygen. Yet most people breathe at just 20 to 30% of their capacity. Can you imagine improving this simple factor? I'm firmly of the opinion that you can dramatically improve the facial muscle tone, skin quality, bone remodeling, and your overall appearance. The key insight: these modern techniques work not just through mechanical changes, but by enhancing our most vital biological resource, which has to be oxygen. The transformative power of breath reaches into every single cell in your body, far beyond surface level aesthetics. Research published in the Journal of Respiration and Physiology demonstrates that proper breathing techniques can actually boost your metabolism by 37% through optimal oxygen utilization. The most remarkable finding is just one piece of a growing body of evidence that promotes conscious breathing. I mean, with more oxygen in the body, you can activate more brown fat, increase mitochondrial efficiency, increase the nutrient absorption rate, improve insulin sensitivity. You can actually get thinner and more lean. The ancient practitioners understood through direct experience. Modern science now validates through measurement. The Vedic concept of nadis and energy channels maps remarkably well onto our nervous system. The vagus nerve corresponds to those traditional pathways. The chakra points align with major nerve plexuses. The breathing techniques directly improve the nervous system states. Perhaps the most profound realization is this: every breath you take is both a reflection and a chisel. It's mirroring who you are and also carefully sculpting who you become. Each inhale carries the potential for transformation. Each exhale, the release of what no longer serves you. The ancient yogis weren't merely mystical philosophers. They were the first biohackers, uncovering a fundamental truth that modern laboratories are only now beginning to validate. Transform your breath and you transform your entire being. As cutting-edge research aligns with age-old wisdom, one thing becomes crystal clear. Your journey towards radiant health and natural beauty begins with something simple and as profound as a simple conscious breath. I have so many resources in my Patreon related to proper breathing techniques, with some exercises going for, holding breath up to 2.5 minutes, and even 3 minutes. And it only takes like 10 minutes a day. I'd love to see you in the community, and I'd love to see your stories and hear your stories about how breathing is changing your very facial marketing and presentation to the world. Facts, no theories. Speak soon.